How's everybody doing this morning? A little bit better? I'm happy to say that we're not starting the show like we did yesterday with me staring at Ryan with this shocked look on his face telling me that Deshaun Watson's out for the season. Nothing to start the show like that this morning. So we're off to a good start already. 24 hours removed from it. There's a lot to process through the whole thing. Did I Google the stages of grief? Yes, I did. And we're still in probably the anger phase. And then you start to understand what happened. But nonetheless, we have to move forward. As a fan base, we know certainly the Cleveland Browns have to move forward. The shocking news that came out yesterday, you'll be without Deshaun Watson for the rest of the year. And eventually that conversation will turn to the bigger picture with everything. I clicked on an article this morning, Ryan. Is this trade the worst in NFL history? I'm not here to decide that right now. And there really is no way to decide that until it's completely, fully written. What I do know is the Browns don't have Deshaun Watson anymore. They have to go out there and play 8 games that I need them to go 4-4 in. And it starts this Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know the line has already moved. Everybody's counting it out. DTR gets the start. Other quarterbacks on the horizon, maybe. We'll talk about all of it right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Good morning to all on a beautiful Thursday. Happy to have along with this morning. Got a lot to get to. We'll talk Browns a good chunk in the morning. Reflog is going to join us at 10 o'clock because I really wanted to have him on because he's a diehard fan like we all are. And our question this morning is all to the diehards. This is to the diehard Browns fans this morning because it's a question that we have loomed a lot about. So I wanted to have Reflog on this morning. He's joining us at 10 o'clock, frankly, because he is one of the perfect people to ask this question in addition to all of you. So we'll get to that coming up. Yes, potential options for the Browns out there. There's a tweet about Ryan. I don't want to give any credit to this because I frankly don't know if it's real or not. There's Ryan Tannehill's scuttlebutt this morning. And there's hoops that you got to jump through if you want to go get Ryan Tannehill. It'd probably be semi-illegal from what the league is going to do, but we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. We will get to the morning update. We'll get to our bets with Tipico. Dude, tonight, Thursday Night Football, Bengals-Ravens has taken on a whole new level of importance for us here in Cleveland. And I'll tell you why, because you need a Baltimore win tonight. I hate the Ravens, but I need them to pull one out tonight because it is imperative where the Browns want to go that they're going to need the Ravens to get a win tonight. We'll explain that a little bit later on as well, and we'll get to Time Hop. I know we have a lot of new people joining us. We didn't get a chance to do Time Hop yesterday, but we go back in history every day and tell you movies and TV and some things that happen. The crappy thing is, Ryan, that 1 year from now on November 15th, I'm going to have to bring up that was the day that Deshaun Watson was ruled out for the season. So a Time Hop's not always good. Well, it's always great that we do it, but sometimes they're not always positive things.
Maybe 1 year from now when we're reading that, it'll be a whole new light.
We made the playoffs, and oh my God, Dorian Thompson-Robinson
led us to a Super Bowl. You
all
never
of that
know.
kind of stuff. God, I hope maybe next year we'll be 9-0 at that point of the season. Deshaun Watson's played his ass off. We'll find out a year from now, but that is fun with Time Out. We'll get to that in hour 2. How are you feeling this morning? How's everybody out there feeling this morning? Because yesterday the initial reaction from so many people was, you got to be kidding me, right? That's what I tweeted. That's so many people that just was like, really? And I think it's looking back on it now that we've had some time to process and kind of understand what happened. I think a big reason why yesterday was just such the shock, he didn't leave the game. He finished the second half 14 for 14. With a broken shoulder. Like, here's the thing. If you came out of that game and you said Deshaun Watson needed season-ending ankle surgery, I might kind of go, okay, I remember the play when he got hurt. But the shoulder, and then you kind of bring in the fact that it was injured prior, that I think is one of the biggest things that we had to overcome yesterday is understanding that this was a shoulder injury that you didn't know when he got hurt. And we'll hear from Watson, we'll hear from Berry, that they don't know when it happened. Deshaun said he kind of felt it at the end of the first quarter. There's a hit in the second quarter when Van Noy and Patrick Queen kind of smushed him, and that might be it. All of that is in the past. He broke his shoulder. He's out for the year. As people are trying to ascertain exactly why, Andrew Berry said that this injury had nothing to do with the first one. And I know a lot of people play orthopedic surgeons on social media. I have to take them at their word. I didn't look at his MRI. I'm not going to perform the surgery next week. It seems like it's too much of a coincidence. I understand that. But this is also a strain versus a break. And yeah, amateur orthopedic surgeons out there, well, if your muscle is fatigued or if it's not structurally sound, it could lead towards that. Bro, I don't care how structurally sound your shoulder is. You take a football helmet to the wrong spot, your bone is going to break. And that is kind of where we're at today with the Cleveland Browns. The other thing about yesterday, beyond the shock of when did he get hurt, how did this happen, is that we now start to rationalize that we potentially see a season going down the tubes, right? And I appreciate some Browns fans out there because you try to remain positive. That's all that's gotten us through 24 years of this team since they've returned, is hope and positivity. And it's not always looked good, and we've gone through some hell. But Ryan, yesterday, it felt like a curse. And we're going to post this as our question this morning, and it's one I'm going to ask Reflog later. Do you believe the Browns are cursed? That was a topic this morning on ESPN's morning show, on Sportsmanlike. They asked the most cursed fan base, and everybody this morning is just screaming the Browns and they're cursed. And I said this yesterday, I kind of hate that. I'm not somebody that necessarily believes in karma or fate as much as you'd like to think that the world will all kind of work out. But it's sports. It's sports. Emmett Golden, worked with Emmett for a long time. I love you. And he always has a great line. He goes, do you think God actually cares about your football team? Probably not. I don't think your God is looking down on your football team, hoping that they cover a spread or that your quarterback doesn't get hurt. But the reason I'm asking this question, because as all the conversations that I had with a lot of people yesterday, there is one that just burns into my head. And somebody brought it up, that it had to be the Ravens. That it had to be something in the cosmos, in the cosmic universe, that it was the Baltimore Ravens. And up until that point, I go, this is a bunch of malarkey. This is crazy. And then I go, oh my God, you're right. It could have been against any of the other 30 teams in the NFL, even the Steelers or the Bengals. And I'd kind of go, eh. But there was just something that just like that implanted itself in my brain. And I've been thinking so much about that to be like, it had to be the Ravens. And it had to be that we ended up beating them. And then this happens. There are people that are going to get on the Deshaun Watson deserves this, and I'm playing that game. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this football team. So we'll put that up. It's kind of a fun question this morning. But it's hard to wake up this morning, Ryan, and not see everything that happened and not believe there's some bad juju or something going on. Can we get Kyrie Irving with some of those incense to walk around 76 Luke Rosa Boulevard or something like that? Whatever he's burning on the sides of the basketball court. I mean, it's something. Do you not wake up this morning feeling a little cursed?
Yeah, I do. And it's interesting, like, I think we're, 12 years apart? It's right around there. So it's almost like you have a whole football lifetime.
Okay, all right, I get it. Yes, jeez, oh man, yes, I'm a little older.
And
you're right. On with your point.
You're right. It does almost seem like
I could tell you what the world was like without the internet, Ryan. I could tell you what it was like when you had dial-up internet and somebody. You don't know the pain, man, when you're sitting there downloading music off of LimeWire on AIM and grandma calls and kicks you off the internet. You don't know that pain, man. Don't go. I'll take you there if you need me to.
No, that's okay, Matt.
You know what a Tamagotchi is?
I do actually. I do know what a Tamagotchi is.
Is it in a museum somewhere that you looked at it? Sorry.
But yeah, to my point, it's like you almost have a full lifetime of football, more than I do, and just I feel like we're cursed. And I've been watching football religiously for only truly 4 or 5 years now, and I feel down bad. So I can't imagine you, and we're gonna have Reflog on later.
Oh, even the older generations, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's people I've seen a lot more
that have been watching the Browns for decades. So yeah, I can imagine why people think that.
Here's the reason why the curse thing bothers me. It's almost like an excuse. people use that as the excuse to say that there's nothing that we can do, that there's nothing that a GM or a coach or a player can do. We are just doomed. And I hate that, because you want to know why? That gives you a sense of hopelessness, because you said there's nothing we can do. And that's not true. That is not at all true. Football, to its core, is a pretty simple game. You have a physical matchup that you have got to win as an individual player, then as a group, then as a side of the football, and then as a team. Goes into that of your type of players, your skill, your play calling. Yeah. And on the overarching thing is the culture that we talk so much about. When you see that these teams that have built it and people come in, and why were the Patriots so good? Because it was a turnstile in a way. You came in and you got in on that culture and you went out and won. That's how they built things there. The Browns will learn a lot about their culture, good or bad, through this. And you might be saying, well, we had enough of that. We had to miss Deshaun Watson for all but 4 games there, right? We got that little piece. Well, now it's really going to get tested. And yeah, you add in the Jack Conklin, you add in the Nick Chubb injuries, which have been bad. But I'm not going to deny people or tell people out there that are fans that you're crazy to say that. But it's the pass. That's what you do to try to rationalize this whole thing. Is all their you had rotten luck. You know what? What would it have been if he would have just gotten sacked? Because if it was the play that he stepped up and ran for 3 yards, what would have happened if he just would have gotten sacked? Maybe we'd be in it. You can't play that game. You'll go crazy, right? What if Nick Chubb would have just gone down? What if Minka Fitzpatrick wouldn't have made I don't know. Like that's football. And these types of injuries happen. That's the other thing about processing all of this as we go through it. It's yesterday, the shock that nothing happened in that game that would give you any reason to go, oh my God, he broke his shoulder. But then we went through the month that we did, right? You went through the month of if he's going to play, if he wasn't going to play, and that made it worse. Now, there's, I guess, a positive to try to grab out of that to say this team knows what it looks like without Deshaun Watson. That's probably in part why they're going back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We'll talk a lot about that coming up. So you know what you look like without him. You know that you did win some games without him. But the task is that much more daunting now that you have the 8 games. Again, trying to be positive, you know he's out, okay? We're not playing this every Wednesday game as he limited in practice. You know you're without Deshaun Watson. And that, in a way, is positive for how this team will navigate it because you have a certainty in this. You know he's not coming back this year. So you know how to operate now, and they'll go out and get a quarterback, as Andrew Berry said. We got a long list that we'll get through on all that. So there's some things that just as you try to understand everything, him being out, and him getting out of that game and not thinking anything of it are the things that probably made it even that much worse. On top of, yes, now your franchise quarterback is out. Then we get to the whole trade thing. And people are writing that all the livelong day today. This is the worst trade in NFL history, and the Browns gave up all this and this money. It's unwritten. Right now, today, if you forced me to answer the question, I would say, yeah, this is a really bad trade. But all I can operate on is the 2 years that he's been here, 11 games that he has played. He's not going anywhere. Like, I will tell everybody that as I sit here right now today. For this move with the Cleveland Browns, this was for the future. This was not meant for just the 5-year contract. And look, follow the money in everything. Follow the money. What did they do when they signed this deal? They expected Deshaun Watson to be here for 10 years. And for 10 years, Andrew Berry was going to get on his little T83 calculator and move all that money around. That's another thing of a prior generation, Ryan, I don't know if you know about.
I know about a T83.
Did you ever get a jailbroken one so you could play games in the middle of physics class?
No, I was studious.
What? You liar. No way.
No,
that was like the hottest thing in high school back in 2006 and 7 was you got the T83 graphing calculator and you had the one guy in the school that knew how to jailbreak it, and then you could download a bunch of games. You could play Galaga. You could play all these fun games on your.
See, I had the TI-84. I
didn't even know they had another one. All right, well, generation better, I guess. But as Andrew Berry gets his calculator out, this whole move was to push money back they're going to sign him to an extension. They're going to sign Deshaun Watson to an extension. So that's where when people are starting to jump on this is the worst trade in history, we have a long, long time before that is decided. And in 7 years, if we don't make it to a Super Bowl, then yeah, maybe it wouldn't be. But the Browns are really in this for the long haul. Deshaun Watson, at the very least, at the minimum, is your starting quarterback next year. And then that's where a lot of people think another extension could come in to kind of move the money around. The other side of that world is they do jettison from him, which, again, I don't think there's any chance that they can. Well, then you're facing a full-on teardown. None of your players that are any good are going to be here, and you got to get your salary cap in order and then try to, I don't want to think about that. I really do not want to think about that. So your best chance for the franchise is Deshaun Watson to come through this injury and be healthy. That is for the future. Let's talk about the now. You got 8 games left. Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets to start this weekend. Do you have the Kevin Stefanski sound, please, Ryan? Kevin Stefanski yesterday asked the question, why are you going back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Here's Coach Stefanski yesterday's sound, courtesy of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it just felt like, as you know, every week you're trying to just make the best decisions you can for your team. I want to give him a week where he knows he's a starter, he gets a full week of preparation.
The biggest thing I think everybody heard there that I did, give him the full week of prep. They're kind of chalking up that Baltimore game as I did of what were you going to do? You told him 2 hours before he was going to start. Dorian Thompson-Robinson knew yesterday he was going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. They can scheme that up. They can work on it. That's fine for this week. And frankly, I don't mind that call. I'm kind of over PJ Walker. I saw what I saw. I kind of know what he is. And I think for this locker room, because that's another big part of this decision, is how it plays in that locker room to the rest of those players. Where if you go with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, what are you selling to your players? He's athletic as hell. With a full week of prep, we feel like we can scheme up some stuff for him. And we can help him out to get him where we need to go. If you started PJ Walker, I feel like that would fall flat in that locker room. Because that locker room would say, yeah, we won some games with him, but it was kind of despite him. And yeah, he's like a veteran guy and gives you a little bit more of a calming presence. But I think for the shock in that locker room that Deshaun Watson was out, you kind of had to go to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You kind of had to go to just give them just a little boost, a little jolt. I don't think you were getting that with PJ Walker. Where as crazy as it sounds, I could dive into, all right, man, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to run around and make all these plays and do all this crazy stuff. I mean, we'll see on Sunday. Maybe that's your chance. Maybe that's your opportunity. I think that plays in the locker room just a little bit better than it does on PJ Walker. And frankly, as Coach said, yeah, I'm down to give Dorian Thompson-Robinson another start when he's got that full week of prep. Will it matter? I don't know. Facing a defense not as good as Baltimore, but still damn good, that he's got to go after on Sunday. But you're at home. That's another positive part of it. And you roll it out and you see how it goes. So the Dorian Thompson-Robinson pick over PJ Walker, I frankly like that, Ryan. I thought that was the right call in just this vacuum of a scenario, and knowing that you couldn't sign a quarterback yesterday and get them ready for Sunday. Because, again, I tweeted out who I wanted, and everybody's talking about this, and, of course, the amateur coach is like, well, you can't do that. I know you can't. You can't get a quarterback here on Wednesday and go get ready for Sunday. So it was always either going to be DTR or PJ Walker. Ryan, I like to call on DTR. I do.
Yeah, I'm still conflicted on it. It's two things, right? It's you start PJ Walker, you've kind of seen what he is. You know what you're getting in PJ Walker. He's going to do some good and he's going to do some bad. There's no doubt about it. And then with DTR, there's no question there that he has a higher ceiling. Him being younger, he's more athletic. He does, I think, throw harder. I'm pretty sure his ball in the combine was tied for Josh Allen and one of the fastest. Not that that's that important, but you're getting a higher ceiling with DTR. And if the logic is, let's start him ASAP, get a couple games under his belt, get some momentum. Hopefully, we're going to be headed to the postseason, and maybe he can raise our offense a little bit more than PJ Walker could. You'd be more stagnant, more steady level with PJ Walker. So I guess, yeah, I'm okay with it, and we'll see what the result is Sunday.
It just gives me a little intrigue. And when you give some time to Kevin Stefanski to try to they're going to coddle DTR on Sunday, as they should. And what's the mantra going to be? Don't turn the football over. And I think that, okay, so another quick cut here from Kevin Stefanski. Tony Grossi asked Coach, like, do you still have P.J. Walker here? Was it the turnovers that you really didn't want to see with P.J. Walker, and that's kind of why he's not getting the start? Here's Coach Stefanski.
No, I mean, I would tell you with P.J., he's still a guy that we're counting on. He's done a great job in the meeting room, on the practice field. Like you mentioned, has led us in these games. He has to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Just felt like this was the right decision for the team right now.
Okay, that's fine. And he said no, but deep down, I'll tell you this about Kevin Stefanski, because we dealt with this with Baker a lot. There's nothing in this world that annoys Kevin Stefanski more than turnovers from his quarterback. He has all but said that in the 4 years that he's been here. Being around him for a little bit that I have, I can tell you that he does not stand for turnovers. He just doesn't. So he said no. I kind of think that's what it is with P.J. Walker. But now you have a guy in Dorian Thompson-Robinson that has all those athletic traits you're talking about, Ryan. And that's why I love DTR going into the draft. Like, I was over the moon when they selected him because of the physical skills, because of things that you can't teach with him. First off, he played a crap ton of football at UCLA. There are intangibles of, like you said, the arm strength, the mobility. Use that. And they're going to on Sunday. Now, what you got to do is put up these bumpers, right? You got to put up these little railways to try to say, we're going to have to use you to make some plays, but we're not going to put you in a spot to really hurt things. And that's unfortunately how you're going to have to piece this together. As unlikely as it might be, I don't know if you're really setting up that you're going to give him the ball with 1:20 and a timeout to get back down the field for a field goal. You try to avoid that the best you can. And don't forget, the entire team will be set up that way. Game planning is one of the biggest parts of football. They are going to game plan towards this, do everything they can to help Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You have the second best rushing offense in football. You got one hell of a damn good defense over there too. So starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson to say, we're going to try to use some of your athletic skills here. We're going to try to create this bumper world for you, a padded room, if you will, to try to limit your mistakes, and we'll see where it rolls from there. Now, Sunday, we'll tell a little bit about what the Browns are going to do moving forward. Right now, today, this is another great question. What is more likely to happen? Oh, let me ask a different way to phrase this question. For the 8 games remaining, who will have more starts in those 8 games? Dorian Thompson-Robinson or a quarterback not on the roster? Of the 8 games left, is it more likely that Dorian Thompson-Robinson starts 5 of those games or that some quarterback not on the roster starts those games? That's an interesting question. And Sunday will probably tell a part of that. Now, Andrew Berry said yesterday straight up, we're going to get another quarterback. Let's pull that clip up real quick, please, Ryan. Thank you. Andrew Berry yesterday, he was asked about the quarterback room, and he gave a little nugget. He said, oh, yeah, we're going to go get one.
Any part of the roster, we're always open to anything that helps improve the team. We do believe in carrying 3 quarterbacks between the active and the practice squad, and what that distribution looks like really depends on the player. So the one thing I will share is that, we will add a quarterback at some point in the near future. What that looks like will be a little bit to be determined.
That's about as much as you can get out of Andrew Berry a little bit there when he admits, yeah, we're going to go add another quarterback. What other quarterbacks could we add? Let's dive into that list right now. We have breaking news in baseball. The A's are officially leaving to go to Vegas. That's sad.
Wow.
Unanimous vote from the MLB owners that the A's are going to leave Oakland and go to Vegas.
A little update as well on Deshaun from Ian Rappaport.
Yes.
Deshaun Watson will have surgery next week in L.A. with Curlin Job Institute's Dr. Neil. I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce this. El Atrachi.
Dr. Neil. Thank you, Dr. Neil.
Dr. Neil, one of the nation's top docs performing it. He should make a full recovery.
All right, okay, before we get to the quarterbacks, let's talk that. He's going to go out to L.A. The Browns are going to be in L.A. in a couple of weeks. And I know that they have team surgeons here, and Dr. Voos is the best. University Hospitals fixed my arm. They're the best. Shout out to Dr. Oliger. But there are experts, and I'm assuming that is some fancy-dancy institute for shoulders, right? Like, you tear your knee, you go to James Andrews. He's made, I don't even want to think about how much money he's made off of torn ACLs, right? So I'm assuming this is a big shoulder institute, and it's all the best. But, like, the fear on nobody, you don't ever want to have surgery, right? You want to do everything you can to avoid surgery. But, like, that's my concern on the shoulder. amateur, WebMD doctor here. There's a lot going on in there, man. Like, to think about where that bone is, you got to cut through a lot of stuff. And I know that they said that the prognosis is good, and I also haven't really heard of other quarterbacks having to deal with this before, or this particular injury. So I'm going to be nervous. I'm just going to be neurotic about it. But yeah, he's going to go out to LA. I'm sure he's probably might even stay there. I think Deshaun still lives in Houston, though, does he not? I don't know. I mean, I know he has a house here, but he'll go out there. The Browns will be out there in LA in a couple of weeks, too. So we'll probably catch up with him there. So all the best. Steady hands, Doc. Steady hands. Thank you. Appreciate it. Back to the quarterback list. Because Andrew Berry said there, we're going to go get a quarterback. And we ran through the list yesterday of practice squad guys that are available, your A.J. McCarrons, your Trace McSorleys, your Kellen Monds, and that like. Then there's the list of guys out on the street. Your Nick Foles, your Joe Flacco's, and I tweeted about Cam Newton yesterday. And instantly people came back and they said, Cam's arm is fried. He can't throw anymore, and he's done. Did a year off? Because did he not take a year off prior before he came back and then his arm was still fried? I don't remember. But I would imagine he's been off. Maybe that arm has healed itself. And maybe he's not the answer. But there's no part of me that wants Colt McCoy. Okay, you want to know one? This is one that I have to say. Stay the hell away from Matt Ryan. Absolutely not. No. Don't do it. Not Matt Ryan. You want to go Flacco or Foles? Fine. Do not sign Matt Ryan.
I saw somebody say Drew Brees, Matt.
No. You know he's already out of TV? Already out of that TV gig? It must be nice. Brady, I jokingly sent the tweet out about asking Tom Brady. Tom Brady's ownership has not been approved by the NFL yet, so technically he is available if he wants to come play. I mentioned Cam. I think there's a little intrigue there for me. The thing I want to say about this, there is no good option. Like, do people truly understand the pickle that the Browns are in right now? And I find it hilarious that people are sitting here trying to tell me, oh no, not that guy, not that. Beggars cannot be choosers, man. You have the list that you have, and it's not good. Now, I know I just said stay away from Matt Ryan. I don't want Matt Ryan. And people probably feel the same way about Cam Newton. But if the Browns made the decision that Matt Ryan's the best option, then go. Every option has got to be on the table right now. It has to be. So people, his arm is fried. He can't throw. Who are you going to find? Who are you going to go? Do you think Josh Allen's just sitting on his couch right now? Like, oh yeah, he's available. Go sign him. There's a reason these guys are not in the NFL right now, or there's a reason that they're on practice squads. There was a tweet this morning about Ryan Tannehill. And I say this, and I'm being dead serious when I say this. Please listen. I can't validate these reports.
What a world we live in.
Dude, I hate Twitter for this reason. I hate it.
What? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just there's these fake accounts out there, and then they're the ones that attribute fake reports, and then people buy into it. Because the thing is, what happens? You see a report, you see a tweet on your timeline, and it's something that you like or agree with, so you hit the retweet, and then somebody else sees it. You have no idea if it's factually true. No idea. And I saw it this morning from... should we even be doing this? Because I cannot validate who this person is.
Let's go take a look. What is it?
I think the tweet has been taken down. Okay, I really do. So that is the whole reason I started with this, because I couldn't validate it. And there's a world that I lived in and I still live in here. If it's not from like Schefter or Rap Sheet or like Garofolo or Fowler or like Diana Rossini, like people, you got to trust them. So that's why I'm glad I think this tweet got outed, because I don't think it's real. Somebody sent a tweet out that said Ryan Tannehill wanted to be released. I don't think that's true at all. But I jumped through some hoops because yesterday, God, I meant to pull this sound. Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. And they asked him about a guy on a roster, right? And Pat, or one of his co-hosts, brought this exact scenario up where a quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, Andy Dalton, some backup that lost their job or they never had it. Jacoby Brissett, right? He's not going to start there in Washington. Where they would go to the team and say, release me so I can go play there, hopefully ball out a little bit and get a big contract next year. There are hoops to jump through. Number one is waivers. All of those guys are vested veterans in the NFL. They would be subject to waivers, right? So if they get released, they have to go through the waiver wire. And even on Ryan Tannehill, he's owed $13 million, I think, for the rest of this season. I think his base was like 26. So if he's released, the Browns are not near the top of the waiver because it's the inverse order of the record the week prior. So the Browns are a good team. They're 20-something in the waiver wire, I'm sure. So your first gamble would be that nobody else would pick him up. Now, Schefter's point was another team could snag Ryan Tannehill to keep him away from the Cleveland Browns. My instant comeback to that, Schefty, nobody's spending $13 million to do that. I don't think, to try to do that. So there is a world that he would get to the Browns on the waivers. Now, you would say, why the hell would the Titans release him? They could save money. Because if you pick a player up on waivers, you instantly take over their contract. There's whatever contract they had with that old team, the new team, if you select them on waivers, gets that. Now, here is where the Titans, in this hypothetical world that would never happen, they release Tannehill. The Browns don't select him on waivers. He clears waivers. He is an unrestricted free agent. He gets his money from the Titans. The Browns could sign him to a $2 million deal to play the rest of the year, and the Titans would still be out that money. Could it be an unsavory thing if Andrew Berry called the Titans, if you're watching on the camera, wink, 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 we'll help you out here. You want out that $13 million, we need a quarterback. Do it. Do you know how fast the NFL would jump in on collusion? Do you know how fast that they would slap an injunction on that? Probably pretty quick. So I bring it all up to say, it ain't going to be on nobody on a roster right now. You got to go practice squad or dumpster diving. And the guy's on the street for a reason, right? These guys are on the street for a reason. I don't think any of that's happening. And, I tweeted this as a joke yesterday, too, that the Vikings activated Nick Mullins from IR. And I was like, could you go ahead and release him, please? That'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it. So you have a lot of tricky things that the Browns are going to have to do, that they're going to have to find a quarterback out there. And, Sunday's game, so Andrew Berry saying what he said yesterday on adding a quarterback. He said he just likes carrying the three. Why would you not, right? Having a guy in the practice squad or having that third quarterback option be there, sure. And what the Browns will do, most likely, will be to sign, if they sign somebody off of free agency. Because the other thing, real quick, I think most people know, if you go sign A.J. McCarron, he has to go to your active roster. If you sign somebody off of a practice squad, they're required to go to your active roster. But if you sign somebody that's on the street, you can put them on the practice squad, and then you get your 4 elevations. They could start the game. P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson are still just on the sidelines as on the active roster, your emergency quarterbacks, and you could play it out there. I would bet my bottom dollar that's what the Browns are probably going to do. They're going to, there's guys on practice squads that you have familiarity with, guys that have at least been here before. I don't know. Because the active roster, too, you have an open position now with Deshaun Watson being on IR. So there's real no difference there. The only thing is the money. You get more money when you're on the active roster versus the practice squad. And at this point, what are you going to do, right? So you got to figure it out. So they'll add a quarterback. The question is, are they adding a quarterback that'll be your starter, or are they going to roll with Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Comes back to the question we were talking about earlier. Who do you think is going to start more games for the Browns over the next 8 games? Dorian Thompson-Robinson or somebody that's not on the roster yet? My gut, you want to post that? Did you post it already, Mark? You want to post that?
I can post it.
Who will start more games for the Cleveland Browns for the rest of the season? Dorian Thompson-Robinson or a quarterback not on the roster? Because I'm sorry, I think we're just going to go ahead and take P.J. Walker out of this. I don't think they're going to go back to him at all. So again, of the 8 games remaining, who will start more games, Dorian Thompson-Robinson or quarterback not on the roster? I'm laughing because of Mac Jones. Rob Gronkowski came out yesterday and he said, hey, man, he's not respected in New England. Let him go. Dan Orlovsky this morning on Get Up. Cleveland will be a playoff team with Mac Jones. Oh, God. It's the same thing as Tannehill. There is no path. What's the path? They'd have to release him. His contract's even cheaper. Go through waiver. Like, it ain't happening, man. Like, I know. It's like everybody's just trying to find the answer. And even if you jump, that's the other kind of crazy thing. You jump through all these hoops, it's still just Ryan Tannehill and Mac Jones. You know what I mean? Or Andy Dalton. It's not like you're doing all this to go get Joe Burrow. Lower, I think a lot of people need to understand we got to, as low as the expectations you have for the quarterback the Browns are going to get, take it down 2 more notches. However low your bar is for what you think the Browns are going to get at a quarterback, take it even down further. Because I got to tell you, this is bottom of the barrel. This is bottom of the barrel of the situation you're in. Trade deadline, a lot different. A lot different. That's not where we're at right now. You're picking through. And there is that element. Why would any of these other teams help the Browns? There has got to be some sort of incentive for them. Whether, it's clearing a contract. You can't give up trades. Like, you can't give up picks at this point. You got to deal with it. You have got to deal with it. And I think the first step in this whole thing is starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson. The best case scenario for the Cleveland Browns for the rest of the season, Dorian Thompson-Robinson shows you a little bit. And I don't know if I'm putting too much on it, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Ryan. I'll believe that a full week of practice is going to help him. A full week of prep going into the game. I mean, it can't be much worse than 2 hours for the Baltimore game. So let me see a little bit from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Everybody's throwing bouquets at him in the preseason. Everybody thought, all right, this is good. Here we go. I'll give him a shot. I'll let it run, and we'll see where we got with the kid.
Yeah, and I mean, look at it this way. You can't, well, I'm going to knock on wood after I say this, but you can't really play worse than he did against Baltimore.
No.
So look at it that way, right? And do the Steelers have a great defense? Yes. I don't know. So Baltimore's defense and Steelers' defense are great. They're both great in different ways. So we'll see. I mean, kind of like what I've been saying with P.J. Walker, you don't necessarily need this young kid to come in and win you the game and make these great plays, especially against a team like Pittsburgh. So just go out there and, like you said, the mantra,
management.
Don't turn the ball over.
Game manager.
Run the clock out.
Yep.
Let's lead the time of possession like we usually do in games this season, and let's let our defense do our thing. And it's going to be interesting because, and Matt, did you see the over-under for the game?
No.
I believe
I've seen the spread.
I believe it's 33.5.
That's low.
That's very
That's
low.
very
And if
low.
I'm not mistaken, I believe I heard it was the second lowest over-under in an NFL game in the last decade.
Yeah. So I talked about waivers, right? I'm starting to see some things. So I click on every article, right? That's about like, oh yeah, this player and that. And Schefter said waivers. I'm almost positive that all the players are subject to waivers at this point. Like, because now I'm reading an article that says go get Jimmy Garoppolo. And if he could get a buyout and he could just come here, I don't know. Like, I got to do some more diving on that. You know what?
We got to get our boy Jack Duffy.
I'm going to, I don't have his number. I got to DM him. I hate to do this on the show. Do you want to catch a break?
Yeah.
All right, let's just catch our first break of the morning. Reflog's coming up at 10. I got some more things I want to get to, including hearing from Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski. We'll do that coming up. Let's catch our break. I got to get an answer on this. Before we start going down all these paths and everything, I got to get an answer. Let me GM Jack. We'll see where we're at. Stay with us. Matt Fontana Show right here on Big Play. All right, I do have an answer on this waiver system. It took me a quick Google here. Welcome back. Matt Fontana Show right here on Big Play. Don't go anywhere. Coming up 20 minutes. Reflog is going to join us this morning. We'll get to our Twitter question as well. You believe the Browns are cursed? And who do you think is going to start more games for the Browns the rest of the season? Dorian Thompson-Robinson or a quarterback not even on the roster yet? Cast your votes on that. So here's where we're at. Yes, every player has to go through waivers. What confuses people, and even myself here, is during training camp. So when you have all your cut downs, any player with 4 years or less of NFL service is subjected to waivers. Anybody with 4 years or more can sign with anybody. That is the case up until the trade deadline. Once the trade deadline passes, vested veterans will go through waivers. That is the double-edged sword of the trade deadline. Because what they don't want is you're on the hook for a player, you don't give anything up, and then they just get released and you pick them up from there. So all vested veterans have got to go through waivers. I thought that's what's the case. I was pretty sure that's what Schefter was saying, and I believe that too. But that is the case. So if you wanted Jimmy G, if you wanted Ryan Tannehill, if you wanted Andy Dalton, all those guys have got to go through waivers. And, I mean, Jimmy G, because that's a name that I had not heard of a lot. He's still on a 3-year, $72 million deal. if you signed him, now the thing is there's an out after next season, but you'd have a cap hit of $28 million next year. Is that worth it for him here? I don't know. And then again, you're asking a lot of other teams to play ball here. You're asking the Raiders to release him and that nobody else picks him up. Like, the only thing I would say is if Jimmy hit waivers, nobody's picking him up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? If Ryan Tannehill hits waivers, nobody's picking him up. But you'd have to ask those teams, and it goes back to what I said earlier. That would be a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge from the Cleveland Browns to tell these teams, oh, yeah, don't worry, we'll pick him up. Don't worry, we'll do it. That's collusion. You're going to get popped for that. Like, there's no way. That's dude, what are you down to? You're down to nothing. Like, I click on Spotrac of free agents, which I hate it, by the way, because they're doing, like, if I click on free agents for right now, they have the list of every free agent. Like, you know, they put Derek Carr on this list. Well, he signed with a team. 2023 free agents at quarterback. All right, I guess I could search this way. Available players. Here's the list. And these guys are on some practice squads too. Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Colt McCoy, Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, Chase Daniel, 36 years old, Trevor Siemian, Jeff Driscoll, Brett Rippon, Will Greer, John Wolford, Trace McSorley, Matt Barkley, but he's on a practice squad, Jake Fromm, Jake Luton, Reed Stinnett, and Ben DiNucci. Jake Luton, too. I don't know if I said him. That list is crap, right? That list is absolute crap. So you got to deal with what you got to deal with, trying to make the change. Let's hear a little bit from Andrew Berry. Let's hear a little bit from Kevin Stefanski. First up, Andrew Berry. Was this injury, did that have anything to do with the old injury? Here's Andrew Berry from yesterday.
Yeah, Tom, this is a completely new injury. This has nothing to do with, what he experienced earlier in the year. It really was the result of a hit in the second quarter of the game. So this has nothing to do with the previous injury.
I have no reason to not believe that. I know it seems like it's a crazy coincidence, but if they're saying that, you got to take them for their word. And there's a lot of people out there trying to connect the dots that might not actually be there. Did you look at the MRI? Did you actually examine Deshaun Watson on his first injury? Probably not, so we're all guessing, and really doesn't matter at all. Next up from Barry, a pertinent question that needed to be asked. You moved on from Josh Dobbs, AB.
I'm not really focused on that right now. Like, we do have a lot of confidence in our current QB room. We're 6-3 and focused on this playoff push. We're focused on the Steelers. There will be a time for reflection for everything over the course of the year, but that's really not top of mind right now.
He's thought about it. There's no way as a human being that he didn't think about it. And I'm not going to necessarily hold that against him. I mean, it is what it is, but he's thought about it. Let's hear from Watson. First off, all these reports that he wanted to get shot up with the pain medicine and try to fight through. Watson, is that true? Did you want to try to fight through this injury?
Yeah, I pushed very hard for it to the point where it was, all the experts and doctors was the ones that told me that it was no chance. So, I pushed as far as I possibly could to, get back out there and just try to play and try to push it towards after the season. But, I think the best situation for, I guess, longevity in my career is to be able to get immediate surgery.
That is, what are we doing there? That's protecting his future. He said his career, his future. And for the Cleveland Browns, their future. No matter how bleak it looks right now, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how many articles I read this morning about this is the worst trade in history, the Browns' future is still directly tied to Deshaun Watson. This season might be a wash, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't throw out 2024 and 2025 to try to get him to fight through this if he needed surgery, which also sounds like, Ryan, there was no debate on this. This was not something that like one quack doctor would go, I'd clear you. No, it sounds like everybody said he had to go get surgery, and he did. Other thing from Deshaun Watson, I want to play this because Deshaun Watson is a very complicated figure here in Cleveland. for the suspension, for what he allegedly did off the field. Kind of moved all past that. You still have the contract. You still have all this other kind of stuff. But listen to Deshaun Watson here when he was asked about his emotions going through this whole thing.
Heard about it, but I'm gonna make sure I keep my head above water and make sure I stay in touch with all the guys and support them as much as I possibly can, and attack this rehab process after surgery and make sure that I'm doing whatever I can to be beneficial for the team, while not actually being on the field with them, and also prepping for the next year.
He sounds so down, right? And even just on it, if you've ever played a sport or ever even been a part of anything, like when you get benched or when you can't play, that sucks. You don't like that. You hate it. And you want to be out there because, yes, this is a professional game and he's making a lot of money, but I'm assuming he likes to play football. And all the rest of that guys in the locker room were looking at him to be the leader and take them places, and now he's not there for his guys. Like, I understand everything else that goes in with Deshaun Watson, but there's still that side of it too. That side of it where this is a guy that he's out. And what it means, they're equally important of finding the quarterback that's going to play and X's and O's on the field. But the other side is how this team responds from a mental standpoint, because this is easily something that could derail everything. And all the players just start feeling down for themselves and feeling sorry. And we're cursed, to go back to our question, all that kind of stuff. And that is what you need to avoid even more than bad X's and O's. You need the X's and O's. You need Kevin Stefanski to help out DTR this weekend, but you have got to have a team that is focused going into it. And a preview tomorrow's show, we're going to have Coach Greg on. Greg Williams, he hosts Come Get Some right here on Big Play. We're going to have Coach Greg on tomorrow, and one of my first questions is going to be to Coach, how do you motivate a team in this situation? How do you keep a team together and focused on the task at hand when you have something this monumental happen? But you could hear it there from Watson. You could hear the despair. You could hear how hard it is for him. So it just sucks. And trust me, all the fans kind of feel the same about it. Final thing, I do want to hear back from Kevin Stefanski. Why are you going back to DTR as your starting quarterback?
Just felt like, as every week you're trying to just make the best decisions you can for your team. I want to give him a week where he knows he's a starter. He gets a full week of preparation.
That is the biggest key there when he said a full week. And that's a full week, not even just for DTR, but that's a full week for Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt. I'd imagine they've been up a lot of nights the past couple of days, and just, not that they have real playbooks anymore, but like on the iPad, and they go, delete, 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 delete. Nope, not running that anymore. That's out. Okay, let's add this concept, or we're going to add this play here. The whole playbook, not the whole playbook, a good chunk of the playbook has to get revamped. And you also have to do that while scheming against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's a pretty good defense in their own right. But that's another part. It's not just DTR getting better. It's Kevin Stefanski getting better. One of the things that I am really looking forward to Sunday, I can't wait. It's like one of those, I just need the game. It might go bad. I just need to be numb for the game for a little bit. That opening drive, because those are the scripted plays. I think every fan knows. Every coach, they script the first 15 to 20 plays. And the script is meant to, we're going to show them this because we want to see what they do. And then that'll help us formulate how we call plays for the rest of the game. There was a world, remember when was it Baker's years, that the scripted plays from Stefanski were amazing. They were great. Sunday, I'm going to look a lot at that script and hope that he can get DTR into a comfortable space, or as comfortable as he possibly could, and then see where can we have some success. Where are we going to be able to take advantage? I know, what are the Steelers going to do? They're going to counter, okay? They're going to game plan coming back the other way. But I'm going to watch that first series and see what Kevin Stefanski has dialed up for DTR. DTR and Deshaun Watson, what did we all say about DTR being here? He fits that room. What are they? Athletic guys. Get out of the pocket, make some throws. That's the same thing about Josh Dobbs, but I digress. So there's going to be elements of what Watson was doing, but just probably slowed down a little for DTR, or just, simplified a little bit. And then we'll talk a lot about this on tomorrow's show, right? Man, am I going to need Amari Cooper. Man, am I going to need David Njoku. Man, am I going to need Kareem Hunt. Boy, am I going to have to DeJuan Jones, for the love of God, please playing in this game. I hope so. You're going to need all the rest of those guys to make things as easy as possible on Dorian Thompson-Robinson, for that game. I don't dislike the move. I frankly think it's the right move going to Dorian Thompson-Robinson at this point. And we'll see what shakes out with the rest of the quarterbacks. We'll see what shakes out with the rest of them. Because the Browns are going to do something, and we'll see. I got a lot of questions for Reflog. I want to know his quarterback pick, who he's got coming up. We'll talk about if he thinks the Browns are cursed. And he's announced on his show, but there's a really cool thing that the Reflog show is now, they're going to be moving over to Bally. So they're going to be on there. So we'll talk to Reflog about that coming up and all things Browns. So stay with us. Thursday, right after us, 12 to 2, Chico. I know he had a lot of reaction from this yesterday. You missed any of our shows. You want to hear what Bruce Drennan had to say? I know that show was pretty lively last night, too, with Bruce Drennan. We got it all for you here, folks. Thursdays are actually kind of our down day a little bit. Do we have Booby today? Is he doing a show today?
He is.
Okay, so Booby Gibson, Rafa, they're going to be in. Cavs.
Much needed bounce
And the
back.
cover. Yes. I am not going to lie, Ryan. I fell asleep. So I woke up early this morning. Our 4-month-old, my wife rolled over about 4:45. She goes, you got to take her. And I was like, okay, fine. So I just sat down 2 hours early before I wake up. And I'm sitting there, I'm just holding her. And I thought about it because I did fall asleep towards the end of the game because it got a little dicey. Like, Cavs got out to a big lead. And then the Trailblazers came back. And I had them at 10.5. And I woke up this morning and I was like, yes. Thank you, wine and gold. Way to go, Cavs. So Booby and Rafa have the show tonight there. And then tomorrow, Friday, what do we usually have? Big play, big bets. That is, of course, with Nick and Nick and Dave, and Ted Ginn Jr. will be for that. Don't forget about Ted Ginn Jr. show. We got it all for you here, folks. We're all over Big Play. Follow us on Twitter at Big Play. We've had all the reaction you're going to want. And telling me Monday, for good or bad, you're not going to want to hear what Blake and Greg have to say. You're not going to want to hear what Hanford has to say. And we'll get a little piece of what Reflog is going to think before his show on Monday. He will join us next. We're proud to be part of the Big Play family right here on the Matt Fontana Show. Reflog comes your way next. we're back here on the Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. Check us out. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere you need us. And in a day like yesterday, it was so hard to fathom, so hard to understand. We're all Browns fans trying to make sense of it. There was one person I really wanted to talk to, and that, of course, is the great Reflog. He joins us now this morning here on the Matt Fontana Show. And we start, frankly, with the question, Chris, because we all feel like we're cursed this morning as Browns fans. We all feel like somehow that there is some dark cloud curse over First Energy Stadium. Do you feel like the Browns are cursed?
I was saying on my show this week, Gab was talking about how we were in such good vibes right now, coming off that huge win against the Ravens. And I was talking about, the type of heart that the team was showing, the big shove at the end, and just how there was positive vibes around the team. And then this happens, right? We're snake bitten. And I was telling Gab, you can't talk too much positive because otherwise the football gods are going to hear us. And who would have known 2 days later, we're sitting here and Watson's out and we're going, what the heck happened? I'll tell you, I don't know where you were when you found out yesterday, but it was wild. I have my phone and you get those updates from the Browns.
Yep.
And normally they're like, hey, the 50-50 raffle, you want to get in on that or crap like that, right? And so I look at it real quick and I go to put it back in my pocket and I'm like, wait a second, did that say Watson? Did that say Watson out for the season? No, that can't be right. Was there something weird that was pushed out from the Browns? Did somebody make a mistake? And, as we both know, that was completely true. But that was a weird way to find out about something as astronomical and as big as that was for the Browns this season. And I'm still kind of in shock, to be honest with you.
Oh, we all are. I was sitting right here. We're prepping for the show. Ryan, I swear to God, man, he was standing right there, and the look on his face, I thought he was about to tell me somebody died. And I said,
right?
What?
Yeah.
And he goes,
yeah.
Watson's out for the year. And I said, no way. And then you see it. And the other thing, you mentioned a good point there. We didn't get this from like Schefter or Rappaport. Like the Browns sent the announcement out. We had no idea that this was coming.
Join the 50-50 raffle. Last chance. Oh, by the way, we don't have a quarterback for Sunday. Hey, by the way, get back into that 50-50 raffle. Did we remind you of that?
Get to the stadium early,
Amazing.
too, on Sunday. We need you there early on Sunday, too.
That's right. We got white face masks. It's going to be great.
Burying the lead with all that. Reflog joining us this morning here on the Matt Fontana Show. So, beyond the Watson thing, everybody's got their quarterback. Whether it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, whether it's somebody else, give me your guy. Is there somebody you want to see start the remaining 8 games for the Browns?
I mean, at this point, let's give DTR, let's give him that landing strip, let's give him that chance to kind of prove what he's got. I'm with the Browns on this one. I know PJ Walker, you kind of know what you've got in terms of the ceiling for him. So now bring in DTR. He's the young guy. He's the rookie. He's the guy who's got something to prove here and also somebody who we think has some upside. So if he's got any value, let's find that out. And heck, you and I both know the way this goes in Cleveland. These stories are almost, it's almost something that you'd see out of a Hollywood movie script. You could see a scenario where he comes in, plays just well enough, gets us into the playoffs, maybe even wins us a playoff game. That would not be hard to fathom with the defense we've got, with the running game that we've been able to muster, even with Chubb out. I know that there's some questions on the offensive line with our tackles right now, but we've got the basic pieces there where you put in a guy like DTR, he's set up to succeed right now. And I could see us sitting here with a scenario come the end of the season, and I'm talking after the playoffs and after whatever the Browns end up doing, where we're going, okay, what do we do with DTR? So, and you have some kind of a controversy in Cleveland, the way the script always runs. So that's my guess is we're just going to kind of roll with DTR and kind of see what he's got.
We did the same thing yesterday. We tried to come up with that list of positivity and try to say, okay, you do have DTR, but one of the things you mentioned there, we have played without Deshaun Watson. So at least that's something.
Yeah.
And you mentioned leaning on the run game, leaning on the defense. Trust me, I wish it wasn't that way, but at least we have seen what this team looks like when Deshaun Watson's not out there.
Yeah, and I guess that gives you a little bit of a respite as a Browns fan. You say, okay, well, it's not going to be total doom and gloom. And even when Watson's been out there, we always start slow. We saw that in the Ravens game. Now he came on in the second half, going 14 for 14. But it's not the type of quarterback player where you go, this is Joe Montana in his prime. This is Tom Brady in his prime. You're talking about a lower bar than that, far lower, really. So something I think is achievable for a guy like DTR if he can go out and just kind of play his game and progress as the season goes on. So, although we're talking a lot of doom and gloom, I think in reality, I think this team can play it out and play at a high level, compete for the division, and compete in the playoffs.
I'll take Tom Brady out of his prime right now. I'll take that.
I would too. I would too. I mean, honestly, I would take Tom Brady right now.
Yeah.
I don't care how old he is. I'd love to kick the tires on that one. I don't know if it's the right move, to be honest with you. DTR is probably the prudent move, but it just sounds like so much fun to have Tom Brady in here, give him one last ride with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I would sign on to that script in a heartbeat. Like I said, I don't know if it's the right move, but it would definitely be interesting.
The jersey sales alone would help kind of. Tell me everybody wouldn't buy a Tom Brady Browns jersey? Of course they would. Reflog joining us. Go ahead.
You go from being chided by the national media for having a guy like Deshaun Watson to all of a sudden being the media darling. We're going to be featured. Forget about Taylor Swift and all of that with the Chiefs. Now all of a sudden you got Tom Brady and the Cleveland Browns. Those are going to be featured on national TV. It's going to be a big deal.
Reflog joining us this morning right here on the Matt Fontana Show. I want to let you guys I know you already announced the big news of the show, but we'll get to that coming up a little bit later about a brand new place you can see the Reflog Show. Outside of all the quarterback or the situation that we're in, everybody's now jumping on this is the worst trade in NFL history, and look what the Browns did with all this money. And I said earlier, there's still a story to be written on everything. Yeah. Where do you stand this morning with the people that are just pounding the table that this is the worst trade in NFL history?
No, there's still time. We got plenty of time. We got 3 years left on this deal. So there's still time for it to play out. It certainly doesn't look good right now. I know nationally, those stories have been written ever since it was first inked. This deal first went into fruition. The national media wanted to pounce on this is the worst trade in NFL history. No bars hold on that one. I think that you've really got to see this thing play out. I think Watson has a chance to come back. I've got my questions. I'm not going to lie. I got my questions about this guy. He hasn't really played now in a couple of years. When we get him out there next season, who knows where he's at physically? Who knows where he's at mentally? But in terms of calling it the worst trade in NFL history, I'm not quite there yet.
What do you think for Sunday? We talked scripting it up right for Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be important. The defense, the run game. There's that path to victory. It doesn't seem all that probable, but there's a chance for it, certainly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think the Steelers are all that good. At the end of the day, I mean, Kenny Pickett doesn't blow me away. There isn't anything, they've got a couple of good rushers. They got a couple of really good ends that can come after DTR all day long, and that concerns me. But our defense is going to be able to handle their business. So it looks like we're going to need the offense to move the ball a little bit. We run the ball a little bit, show some of that heart we showed in the Ravens game. I think we'll be fine. I think the crowd's going to be into this. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere. I know it was dapper this week with the Watson news, but we're resilient as fans, right? Yeah. So we're going to come out Cleveland versus the world like we always do, and hopefully the team will respond on the field. And I honestly expect them to, because when we have the worst news, usually it's followed by an up. Every roller coaster goes down and then invariably goes up before it goes down again, but we'll get to that next week, right?
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to throw rapid fire at you because we all watched the Reflog show on Monday, but you're here joining us this morning, so a lot of Cleveland stuff I want to get to. Thoughts on where the Cavs are at right now? Nice win last night, but maybe off to a slower start than people expected.
Good teams win. Great teams beat the spread. The Cavs beat the spread last night. A little bit of money in my pocket. Thank you, Tipico, on that one. It's been tough to peg the Cavs because they've got so many injuries this year, right? You've got Darius Garland. You got Jared Allen for out at the beginning of the season. You've had Donovan Mitchell's been out. So you've got a lot of different rotations that they've been dealing with right off the bat. I like some of the new pieces. I like Max Strus. I like what he adds. One of the things I've noticed that does concern me early on here is we're once again a very streaky team in terms of shooting. Whether it be Karis LeVert, he can be up, he can be down. Same thing with Strus. I'm looking for consistency as this season progresses. Again, we're very early on in the season, but it's going to be interesting to see what Bickerstaff and his staff can do to get this team prepared and better gel through the season so that when we come to the playoffs, we don't have what happened last year against New York. We've got a team that is ready to go, that can compete when the lights are brightest, right? If you're Jared Allen or anyone else. When the lights are on, we want to be ready to go. So the pieces, I think, are there. It's just all got to come together. And coming off this tough West Coast swing, I look for them to kind of get back in the roll of things. It's going to be tough on Sunday. They're going to be playing Denver. We know that's going to be a tough one. But, going forward, I have some confidence in this team that they're going to get it right.
Stephen Vogt, new Guardians manager. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. I don't know anything about the guy. Outside of, I think he's hilarious. He does the Chris Farley impressions. That's fantastic. And I think that kind of captures some of the spirit of the team, because you go from Tito, and one of the things that Tito did, he was fine as an X's and O's guys, but he was a connections guy.
Mm-hmm.
He knew his team. He knew how to push those buttons. He knew how to connect. I think the players genuinely loved him. And I think that's something that we can see now with Vogt, in that he seems to have that sensibility, that fun about him, that way that he can connect with his players that I think sometimes gets overlooked. But in a season, in a baseball season, it's just so many games. It's just so long that I think having that type of a presence who's fun in the clubhouse, who you want to see every day, I think that goes a long way with the players. So I'm excited about him.
All right, final rapid fire one. Michigan, was the suspension right for Harbaugh? And do you expect Ohio State to stay there? I was kind of shocked, like Reflog, that they flipped from 1 to 2, but they like to win for Georgia over Ole Miss, all that kind of stuff. But your thoughts on the whole Michigan situation?
Yeah, and that's another thing. They also like to show that it's somewhat liquid, it's somewhat fluid. So they like to say, hey, we're thinking this way this week, so that they can come back next week and say, hey, we thought about it this way this week. They like to give you kind of the reasons behind where they put the teams in the rankings. And I kind of understand that, because for years we sit there and go, hey, computers are making these determinations of these standings. We have no idea what the inputs are. And now the committee has at least given us some rationale for what they're doing. But in terms of Michigan, what poor victims, right? I mean, come on. That's all you hear about.
They were forced to do it. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're told. They were forced to do it.
Yeah. It's like Harbaugh was helping an old lady across the road and got ticketed for jaywalking. That's the way that they make it out to be. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's great. I think the whole thing is hilarious. I think there's some serious cheating that, number one, went on that they have got to deal with, and they're going to be dealt with. On the back end, all of the punitive measures that they're going to be feeling are just hilarious for me, because I have not seen more whining than I have out of this Michigan fan base in years. And I am just loving every bit of the Wolverine tears.
I am. Same thing. I know you guys mentioned on your show, we're proud to say that we're a part of it, but Reflog, tell everybody about the big news when it comes to your guys' show and the brand new platform you're going to be on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So for anybody who doesn't know, now the Big Play Cleveland show, which I'm a part of on Mondays with Gabriela Cruz and Nick Padone, we are going on Bally's, and our first show aired this week and is airing throughout the week on Bally's. You can catch that on your Bally's network, on DirecTV, on your cable. We'll be there this week and starting and going on into the future. So a big step for us. We started off in my partner Dave's basement, and then eventually into his garage, and then eventually to the beautiful studios out there at Burke. And it's neat to go from being on the internet to now being on TV, so that my parents can see it, my grandparents can see it, and all of you can hopefully tune in. So check out Bally's, check out the Big Play Cleveland show.
I'm so proud for you guys, to you, to Gab, to Nick, as you mentioned. That's awesome, and we really appreciate the support you have given us here on this show as we're really starting to build things here at Big Play. Reflog, appreciate it, man. Can't wait to be seeing it on Bally's, and as always, go Browns.
Go Browns. Matt, I appreciate you having me on. And there is hope. There is hope. We're going to go out there. We're going to beat the Steelers on Sunday. I feel it.
I love
see you,
it.
brother.
Get it in. It's good to see you, man. Reflog joining us in big news. I can't tell how great that is to join the likes of Josh in Hanford and Greg and Blake that are on Bally's across. And I know Dave sent that question out, Ryan, about if there was an app that you could download. Could you imagine downloading just a Big Play app and then you could just pull up the stream right there when you need it?
I would love it, man. Kind of
It's-
like a Netflix thing, you know?
We got
Or
our
a
own
Hulu.
network, man. We're rolling
how
here.
cool would that be, man? I
And
would
really,
love that.
like Reflog is kind of the genesis because he told the story that Ian Dave really did start in their basement all the way to where they're at today. So I appreciate him taking some time this morning to join us. Guy was like the true Brown. We're all Browns fans here, but that true Browns fan mindset of all of it. Push back a little bit, Ryan, but if you don't mind, let's get to all the stories across because again, we've been so Browns heavy the last 2 days. Let's break it up a little bit. We got stories from yesterday, from today. We got a lot going on. Let's get to the morning update. Do you feel as I do, like we've been in this haze? Oh, a little.
We got a little
new
new
bed.
bed.
All right, new studio, new bed. We're rocking here, man. Let's go. I feel like again, I try to stay up to watch the Cavs game last night. We have Thursday night football tonight. I feel like I've just been in this like time warp, like this loop that it's just been all Browns when there's been all of this news across all the sports. I even get a chance to talk to Nick Chubb yesterday. So let's get to it. Let's let it breathe a little bit. Ryan, take it away with the morning update.
Alrighty, well, our Cavs get the win in Portland. They win
Good job.
109-95. They cover. Cavs improve to 5-6. Portland falls to 3-8, Matt. But it was good to see this West Coast trip, which has been a little up and down. It was good to see the Cavs ended on a high note, and they're going to come back to Cleveland almost 500. So we'll see if we can get past that mark early in the season.
You know, I watched the first part of that game. Cavs got out to a big lead, or not even a big lead, but it was double digit in the first quarter at times, and then Portland kind of came back. You realize that they got a lot of pieces in all of the trades that they made, you know, sending Dame, and then they sent out Drew Holiday, and they got Brogdon, but dude, they are so hurt. Like, Scoot didn't play in that game last night. Robert Williams is out for the year. The Cavs had no business losing that game, and I appreciate them, number one, for covering, because yes, I had them on Tipico, and that's a nice cover there from them. But that was a business game there. You take care of your business and you get the win, and they did that. Are they perfect? No. Are they starting to figure some things out? I think so. And I saw a real interesting tweet from Chris Fedor this morning from Cleveland.com, and Chris is the best. And he said, the Cavs might need to start finding some more minutes there for Max Strus, because like what he does in these games, like I was critical you know, at times, like, because he came out, he had that 20-game point, and then he falls off. But I really think he is now starting to figure it out a little bit. And George Niang is starting to hit some shots, and it's like, it was so easy to, like, make a snap judging early. Let's see some of these pieces figure out. You know, Okoro is still out. Garland had to miss that game. I'm gonna really just continue to take the long game here with the Cavs. But that was a nice win for them last night. You get off that West Coast trip, come on home for a little bit, and get some work done. Well done for the wine and gold.
Alrighty, well, into the baseball world, Matt. The Guardians decided to protect righties Daniel Espino and Cade Smith from the Rule 5 draft on Tuesday night. However, the Guardians announced that they have designated right-handers Cal Quantrill and Michael Kelly for assignment. And for this didn't come as big as a shock for some people, but how are you feeling about that move, Matt?
I mean, a lot of people, you go, oh my God, you're like at 1.3 starter. Battled injuries, some numbers were good at points. That screams Shane Bieber to me. So you DFA Quantrill, which again, to some it was a shock, to others that really kind of, you know, were in the know a little bit more, not so much. And I have said this before. I think that there is a path to signing Shane Bieber to a long-term contract. And this is the world that we live in. Okay, number one, now you're down a starter. Like, if Cal Quantrill was going to be here, he was going to be your number 3 or 4 starter. Okay, so now he is out. And you could instantly say, all right, we'll just throw Logan Allen in there. Or, you know, Gavin Williams was going to get a shot. Okay, fine. But you still need somebody to be your number 1. And with Bieber's career, won the Cy Young, people rip into that was COVID and all that, whatever, fine. I still think he's a good, serviceable pitcher. Not quite what he was, but he still would be a number 2 on a lot of major league rotations. You go to Shane Bieber and you say, unfortunately, you're probably not going to cash in on this $200 or $175 million deal like one day you probably dreamed. Here's a 5 or 6 year deal, somewhere around $85 to $90 million. And that's a lot of money to the Guardians, but you spread it out a little bit. you go to Bieber and say that's probably more money, because the other option is that he goes out and he starts chasing these deals. I doubt that any team is going to give him a really, for Shane Bieber, fat long-term contract. I'd go to Shane and go, do you really want to enter that world of signing one-year deals and just kind of bouncing around? Stay here where you still have the pitching pipeline, so to speak. I know Terry's gone, but like Carl Willis is coming back, right? I haven't seen anything on Carl, right? You still have some of the good pieces that you have. Do it here. It's a town that you already know. It's a town that does love you. And here's more money than you would probably make. Sign it. Finish your career out here. Here's $85 million. I'd do it. And I think just even on the move on Cal Quantrill, it certainly leans more towards that Bieber will at least be here next year. And that's the big year. Is next year not his last year, right? So I don't read into it. I guess I should. I'll put it this way. I shouldn't read into it that much, but that's kind of where my head went.
Alrighty, well, a name that Cleveland is all familiar with was in the news. Ken Dorsey was fired as the Bills' offensive coordinator, and Josh Allen had a pretty interesting quote, I thought. He was asked about if he had played better, if Dorsey would still be employed there. He said, without a doubt, and I take that very personally. It hurts a lot to see someone you care about go through a situation like that, and to know that I could have done more. If this offense could have done more, we wouldn't have had to do something like that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that from Josh Allen, because there are people that just, nah, man, he deserved that, or you throw him under the bus. I mean, when you get to that point, it seems a little bit of the ship is sinking, and every last man for himself. And if they really felt like there were issues, you're going to find that out pretty quick, right? I don't think it's ever quite that easy. There's always more that goes into that of just, the offense isn't performing. Fire the offensive coordinator. Oh, wait, the defense sucks. Fire the defensive coordinator. But, I mean, like, listen, he's a human being with a family. He'll find another job. I think he's probably still going to be a guy that can get another assistant. And he was one of those names, right? Like, you talk about all these offense coordinator names, Kellen Moore and Eric Bieniemy. And I feel like Ken Dorsey, if you get on a good offense, then a lot of people can look at it. People started bringing up Brian Dable, though, right? Like, on how he was the real magician there. And you see changes like that all the time, where you write it off that, Team X lost this coordinator and they're not quite the same. Or, you see a coordinator, I guess put it this way, the coordinator gets hired away, and then the season starts and they're not the same, and people go, well, what happened? They lost their coordinator. The Eagles, I really thought that this might be a little bit of a gut check year with losing Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. And there's some evolution of that. Now, the other side of it is, like, I don't mean to pile on here, the Chiefs have not lost a step. And that is with Eric Bieniemy leaving, and that's with Andy Reid taking things back over. That's kind of the flip that you hope for, that maybe handing it over to this person is the right call. It sucks for Ken Dorsey. I appreciate Josh Allen at least taking a little accountability for it.
Alrighty, we'll end this morning update with a little bit of positive news, Matt. We wanted to talk about this yesterday, obviously, but the whole Deshaun debacle kind of put a wrench in that plan. But our guy, Nick Chubb, underwent a successful second surgery to repair the anterior of his ACL. So a little bit of bright news on what was a pretty somber morning yesterday.
It was, and I wanted to say this yesterday, and I'll say it again here today. It's something that I've mentioned before. I don't want to see Nick Chubb ever play for any other football team for the rest of his career. And the injury is one that I hope he can return from, and sounds like it was all positive on that. And even if it comes to a point where it's a detriment, where the money that you paid him or the deal that you signed, he doesn't quite ever live up to it, I don't care. You sign him to deals to keep him here. He has deserved that, and he has earned that. I think franchises sometimes forget that. It is still about the fans. That the reason that they all have a job is because we watch and we pay tickets and all that kind of stuff. And we want them to win, and they need to make smart moves, and they need to make the right moves. And sometimes that includes cutting your beloved player or moving on. But this is one guy that this is different. Make this move for Nick Chubb and for the fans. I don't ever want to see him play anywhere else. So he's got 1 year left on that. I expect them to do an extension at some point. And even if there's a day that he's not the same Nick Chubb and maybe he's not truly worth that $12 million, I don't care. And I will never, ever rip the GM. If it's Andrew Berry that does this deal, I will forever give you a pass on that one. I'll complain about other moves, maybe, sure. But that is one that is a fan base. I frankly think like the organization too, you want to get that done, and please do it. He deserves that. He really does. And I hope everything else goes well in the surgery. And yeah, I mean, it's so somber right now because of how we feel with Watson. But think about next year, man, where if you hit training camp and you got a healthy Deshaun Watson, a healthy Jack Conklin, a healthy Nick Chubb, draft picks be damned. That's a hell of an offseason getting those 3 guys back. So I hope everything goes well with the surgery, and I'd like to see them get that deal done with him moving forward. Really
Matt, let me ask you before we end the morning update real quick. What would disgust you the most? Seeing Nick Chubb ever in a Bengals, Ravens, or Steelers jersey? Which of those 3 would bring the most pain to you?
The Steelers, probably. It always pains me. I mean, like, Joe Hayden is the one that sticks out to everybody. And trust me, I dislike the Ravens very much. But yeah, there would be something about going to the Steelers. I don't know why. Something about, like, the Bengals, I don't really care. You know, of that rivalry tree, I've always said the Steelers are like the historical, like, I borderline respect them type of rivalry. The Ravens, I just hate as a team. There's people on there. I like Lamar. I really like John Harbaugh. That's the Ravens. The Bengals are kind of like, we have a rivalry, but they're in our, if I had to pick somebody other than the Browns out of the division to have success, it would be the Bengals. It would be. I have more Bengals. Actually, probably not. I'm pretty equal on people in my life that are Bengals fans and Steelers fans. I know no one that's a Ravens fan because I would not ever associate with somebody who's a Ravens. But, yeah, the Bengals are kind of this team that, you know, you just kind of root for them a little bit, right? Just a little bit?
No.
No?
And that's mainly because I spent 4 years of my life in Cincinnati. So, absolutely
You didn't have fun at the University of Cincinnati?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I had a wonderful time, and I love the Bearcats.
We know you do.
I'll love them till the day I die, but the Bengals, no respect.
Oh, the Bengals. You're not even crapping on the town of Cincinnati. You're just crapping on the Bengals.
The 2 things in my time in Cincinnati that I will forever crap on are the Bengals and Skyline Chili.
You're
and that's
damn
it.
right. You're damn right. That's why you're on this show. Great call. I'm going to ask you this on the air because I didn't do it off the air, and I'm a little conflicted. Do you want to read this article from Dan Graziano on the Deshaun Watson trade being one of the worst in history? I will leave it up to you.
I feel like, let's hear it. Why not?
There's some interesting nuggets in this whole thing. So it came out yesterday afternoon after Watson was announced out for the year. And it was easy to jump on this. This is the worst trade in NFL history. Dude, that gets said all the time. Every year, there's a draft pick that's the worst in history. There's a trade that's the worst in history. It's sensationalism is what it is. So Graziano writes, and I will be fair, this was not the headline of the article. The headline was the Deshaun Watson injury, contract fallout, and the future future for the Cleveland Browns. And I'm going to cherry pick a lot of this. And he writes 4 different pieces, I can't count, to this article. And the first one is sizing up the deal. The question is, how does the deal for Watson look so far? Dan Graziano, not very good. Over the past 2 seasons, the Browns are 8-4 in the games that Watson has started and 5-9 in the games that he hasn't due to the suspension and the injuries. Sure, he seems to make a difference when he plays, but whose starting quarterback doesn't? This isn't about whether the Browns are better with Watson than with the backups they've had behind him. It's that the expectations come with a guy that cost 3 first-round picks and $230 million. Graziano writes, this is in no measure objective or subjective by which Watson has been worth the price so far, but consider the fact that C.J. Stroud only cost 1 pick from his former team and has thrown for more yards as a Texan than Deshaun Watson has for the Browns already. Good Lord. Oh, Jesus Christ, think about that. And I don't mean to use the Lord's name in vain. Oh, my God. C.J. Stroud has already thrown for more yards for the Texans than Deshaun Watson has for the Cleveland Browns.
That is kind of crazy.
That is damn sobering right there. That's what that is. So, yes, that's where the deal looks so far. Next up, can the Browns get out of the contract? In a word, no. In 2 words, hell no. Graziano, NFL contracts, because they're almost never fully guaranteed and because of the cap rules that allow teams with salary and bonus structures, often come up with escape hatches that allow the team to move on after a couple years if they're not working out. Watson's contract is not one of these. The restructure the Browns and Watson agreed to this past offseason reduced his cap number for around $55 million this year to $19 million. But a restructure for the short-term savings means inflating cap numbers in future years. When all the salaries in the future years are fully guaranteed, you cannot save cap by cutting the player and just eating the dead money left over after the signing bonus. We know that. But it's even more imperative when you look at that it gets worse as it goes, because that is where the Browns were trying to make hay. They were saying he's going to be here for 10 years. We'll always just keep pushing that money. You want to talk real for a second? Let's talk real for a minute. Do you know what the Browns probably had planned for? Deshaun Watson being here for 7 to 10 years, pushing that money as far down the line as you can, knowing that the salary cap is going to keep going up, and you can keep chipping away. But Ryan, do you want to know the ugly truth? That there would be a day in year 8 or year 9 or year 10 that the Browns were going to have to rebuild. And that is the year that you just swallow all of that money and you have a dog crap team and you build it out for 2 years. But it would be worth it, because you had a franchise guy that hopefully maybe won you a Super Bowl. That's it. That's it. And I'm not saying the Browns are going to deviate from that plan, because frankly, they don't have another option. But yes, there is no way that they get out of this deal. Even if they, after this year, just said, yep, 120 odd some million dollars, we'll just eat that. That's not how that works. There's no way. So they still have to be on that path. And that's pretty much what it is. Graziano writes, if the Browns wanted to release Watson next offseason, they'd have to pay him $138 million in cash and carry $200 million in dead cap on their 2024 cap. Even if they designated him as a post-June 1 cut, the dead money would be $156 million next year and $110 million in 2025. For context, the highest ever dead cap charge was the Falcons with $40 million on Matt Ryan. We're talking $250 million versus 40. This is unheard of. What if they wanted to trade him? First, they'd have to convince some team to take on the remaining money. But even if they could do that, they would still have $63 million in dead cap. You know, I know the other problem with that trade, you would have to attach draft picks like the Jared Goff, Matt Stafford deal. You would have to attach the deal. And what do you not have? Draft picks, in part because of Deshaun Watson. Next up from Dan Graziano. What does this all mean for the Browns? It means unless Deshaun Watson takes them to a Super Bowl in one of the final 3 years of his deal, this has a chance to go down as the worst trade in NFL history. Great. Awesome.
I don't know, Matt. That Marshall Falk one is pretty bad.
Yeah. There's a lot of deals you could look at. And then finally, what does this mean in the bigger picture? Watson's fully guaranteed deal did not start a trend. I said that the day they did it. Everybody screamed that Burrow and Lamar were going to get fully guaranteed deals. And I said, you're crazy. Because the rest of the NFL is going to do exactly what they did. That is the anomaly. This is the trend. You can get a big chunk of fully guaranteed. You're not getting all of it. And lo and behold, that is what happened at every turn of this. Every NFL owner is grinning from ear to ear because they go, yep, thank you very much. That proves exactly why we don't do that. Browns made their bed. They're in it. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's do time up when we return. We'll get to our bracket, and we have got to talk Thursday Night Football because, folks, there's only one side that you need to be rooting for tonight, and I'll explain all of that when we return. Download the Tipico app if you haven't. In the break, you'll see the QR code. Big Play 200. Get those bonus bets. We'll make our bets tonight with our friends at Tipico. Back right after this. All right, we're back here. Let's get to a little bit of time hop this morning. 11:16. I mean, it is 11:16, but it's November 16th is the date. Let's head on back. Get ready for you, Ryan. 5 pop cultures for you.
Let's do it.
Sorry, I'm putting my code in on Tipico. Shout out to them for the 2-factor authentication there, keeping my money safe there on the Tipico app. So download that. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's head on around with a little bit of time hop. If you're new to the show, first off, welcome. Second, we do this every day. We go back to this day in history and tell you what happened. This one's a long gap, Ryan, but we go back to this day, 2014. And I was at this game covering it, and I will never forget the day the Browns lost to the Houston Texans 23-17. You might be saying, well, why would you remember a game like that? Because in my prior stop, I was at the game with Tony Rizzo. Riz has seen a lot of football, and we're sitting there. It's me, Riz, and Gerard. And we dubbed this game, Ryan, the Red Grange game. Do you want to know why? 23-7. J.J. Watt single-handedly had an offensive touchdown as a tight end, a sack, a fumble recovery, 3 tackles for a loss, and I think he blocked a kick. All in one game, and we dubbed it the Red Grange game because he single-handedly beat the Cleveland Browns this day, 2014. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Don't even need to count the votes. Don't worry about it. He's going in. It just sucks because injuries took their toll on his season, but it's crazy to say, like, think about how hurt he really was throughout his career, and he still won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. So good.
I thought that one year, I think it might have been 2013. He was seriously considered for MVP.
He should have won it,
And
probably.
It's a shame that really, are we ever going to see a defensive player win MVP in our life?
Probably
I doubt
not.
it. But if one was to be handed out, it could have been him that year.
That is the thing. If anybody was going to win it, I'm sure you could go back to LT or Revis Island or, but J.J. Watt probably would have been the guy to do it. And he had the Red Grange game this day, 2014. Do you remember when Hostess shut down? Everybody lost their mind. Happened this day, 2012. Everybody ran to go buy Twinkies and ho-hos. I've done a bracket in my past of your favorite Hostess item.
Is Hostess the Cosmic Brownies too? Or is that little,
No, I
that
think
Little
that's
Debbie?
something else.
Is that Little Debbie?
Might be a little Debbie.
Okay.
Hostess, because my favorite thing from Hostess are the crullers. You ever had a cruller from Hostess?
No.
Hostess products. Twinkies, the fruit pie ding dongs are very good. Do they have zingers? They do. Ho-hos, cupcakes. Do you want to know one of the most piece of trash items in this world? Snowballs. Coconut is disgusting in its own right.
All right, relax there.
Dude, no. Coconut is horrible.
You don't like an Almond Joy?
No!
Oh, they're delicious.
Absolutely not.
They're delicious.
No, they're disgusting is what they are. So snowballs, I'm out. But the donuts, the cinnamon rolls, zingers, oh man, so good. So I remember when it shut down, I think, because didn't they own Wonder Bread too? And that all went down. They came back, like somebody else bought them, but Hostess shut down this day, 2012. This day, 1996, for all you wrestling fans out there, The Rock made his debut as Rocky Maivia. He started earlier, and I think I'm by no means a wrestling aficionado or historian, but his dad was Rocky Johnson. His mom was from the Rocky Maivia, like that side of the family. His grandfather was like the high chief and all that. He's actually cousins with Roman Reigns. And then his other cousin, Kaluka Maivia, was a linebacker for the Cleveland Browns. That's all the Rock's fan, but he debuted this day, 96. And I say this again, I haven't watched wrestling in 20 years. I know people get flair. I know they mentioned The Undertaker and Stone Cold. For my money, hands down, The Rock is the best professional wrestler that's ever walked this earth. And that gets blasphemous. There's guards of people out there that even the old school with Hogan and Dusty Rhodes, and I respect it. This is just from me. Like, there was nobody like The Rock. Nobody liked The Rock. He was the best, man.
Matt, I'm not into wrestling myself, but you know who now is kind of like becoming the king of WWE, do you? It's Logan Paul. How about that? I saw him get a belt maybe a week ago, a couple weeks ago. Crazy.
I cannot
crazy
stand
how the
Paul
world
brothers.
changes.
I don't understand people that watch them box. The other one that boxes. God, good for them. I got nothing for them. I really don't. This day, 1965, Epcot opened. Have you ever been to Epcot?
I believe when I was younger, I went once.
Oh, I went.
That's the
My
big globe thing.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a part. And then there's a lake and you go around. Everybody that is an adult, you go drink around the world. So my wife and I went to Disney and Universal by ourselves before we even got married. And I have vowed on every fiber of my being that we will never take our kids there. And you sound like you're such an a-hole. You're going to deny your kids that? Yes. Because it was hell going with the two of us. I cannot for a life of me, Ryan, understand how you can take kids there. Do you want to know one of my overarching memories of Epcot? Was we got there early in the morning. Got there, wanted to get us. We stood in line to get in. Like the gates weren't even open yet. This sea of people come in. And the rides are cool. And again, you have, you go to Germany and Ireland, they go to Italy, you go to Japan. All right, all cool. Bro, we walked into Starbucks at Epcot. We paid $17 for a large coffee and waited 45 minutes for it. We left. They told us that on the app they would tell us when to come back to get a large coffee for $17. And again, I didn't even have to go buy the mouse ears. I didn't even have to go get the embroidered hat that everybody's probably paying $60 for over my dead body. We'll go to Cedar Point. We're a Cedar Point family. We got the season pass. We'll go up there all the live long day. And you want to know what's going to ruin it? I see it coming. My kids are 2 and 4 months old. They are everything to my wife and I. I love them with all my heart. They are my life. They're going to go to school in about 7 years, and their friends are going to tell them about Disney World and Epcot, and they're going to come home and look at mom and dad and go, well, why aren't you taking us? And then we're going to be the villains, and we're going to get drunk. Are there schools? I'm going to start a school. It's going to be a Disney-free school. You are not allowed to speak about it here. You're not allowed to bring it up, because that's what gets these kids that want to go. My son's, he's 2. He's not even into Mickey Mouse. He's into Spider-Man, Paw Patrol, and thankfully Batman. Good. Keep it that way.
I got a burning question for you.
Please.
Would you rather have to take your kids to Epcot and Disney?
Mention Michigan.
Or have your son go to Michigan?
Epcot. No joke. Epcot. I'd take him every year if that kept him out of Michigan. If I had to. Epcot. I mean, Epcot was a lot of fun, but it opened this day 1965. This day 1924, the Cleveland Bulldogs defeated the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets to end their 31-game undefeated streak. Go Dogs. This day 1801, the New York Post published their first newspaper at 222 years. They are the longest-running daily newspaper. I know Polk had that on Reflux. He actually had a newspaper, and they were talking to him about who actually gets newspapers anymore. Support your local journalism. At the very least, sign up for Cleveland.com. Okay, sign up for it. Very happy birthday goes out to Doc Gooden, former Indians pitcher Chris Haney, Chris Gokong, Browns linebacker, Denzel Valentine, former Cavalier. That's a pull. You like that pull?
Wow.
My old co-host used to get on me when I would bring up obscure Cleveland.
I even thought
athletes.
about Denzel Valentine.
I love that's my favorite thing. Was last time we talked about Chris Gokong. Oh, dude, you want the Chris Gokong story? We were there the day he tore his Achilles in practice. We heard it. We heard it from across the field.
It sounds like a gunshot almost.
It's bad. The only thing on an orthopedic level, I had a coach tell me one time that he heard a player break his what's your thigh bone? It's not your humerus, it's not your tib or fib, that's your bottom. What's your thigh bone called? Femur. Your femur is supposed to be as hard as concrete. He saw a player and he goes, it sounded like a wooden bat getting broken. Oh, it sounded that bad. Not to get all, people turning this show off going, you're going to make me throw up in the morning. But yes, Chris Gokong.
They're trying to eat their breakfast.
Sorry,
right
I'm
now.
apologizing. Who eats breakfast at 10:47? The late, great Mr. Burgess Meredith. Most people know him as Mickey Goldmill from the Rocky series, but to a lot of people, including myself, he'll forever be the Penguin on the original Batman series. Pete Davidson and Maggie Gyllenhaal all celebrating birthdays today. All right, 5. You better warm up over there. You better get ready.
Do it, man. I'm ready.
All right. 5 TV. I'll tell you this: 4 movies and a TV show. So we'll start with a TV show. God, I wish I could play the theme because it's got a pretty iconic theme. But I will tell you, this day, 2004, a TV show with a doctor that has very unconventional methods, but still gets the job done.
2004?
Yes.
House
MD is correct. We are off on a good start.
Look
one
at me.
for one.
Great show.
Great show. I always told myself I was going to get into it, and I never really did. I don't know why. All right, next up, this day, 2001. A young man living under a stairwell finds a little bit more out about his heritage.
Harry Potter.
Which one? One.
First one is don't tell me.
Okay.
Chamber of Secrets?
No, Sorcerer's Stone.
Aw, damn it.
I read that book. Here's the thing. I say this all the time. To the Harry Potter people out there, to the Star Wars people, to the Star Trek, to the Batman like myself, find your nerdism. Life is better when you have something to nerd out about. The Harry Potter one that universe is massive. I didn't watch the Secrets of Grindelwald. What's the one with Eddie Redmayne? You know,
we're talking about Harry Potter still, right?
yeah, isn't that in it?
There's like Fantastic
Beasts. Thank you very much. And then now they got this other series when like Dumbledore's younger and all that. Good for you, man. I love it. If you're into it, good for you. So Harry Potter, 2 for 2. All right, next up, this day, 1996. All films on the way out by the way. The Governator really needs to find a toy for his son.
The Governator
Yeah.
needs to find a toy for his son. What year?
96.
The Governator needs to find a toy
So
for his
the
son.
Governator is,
Hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger
yes.
finds a toy for his son.
You might not have seen this one. Turbo Man doll,
No.
Jingle All the Way.
Oh, okay.
Sinbad, good flick.
Never
Good
seen
holiday flick there.
Okay.
There for on Jingle All the Way. All right, this day, 1990. My easy layup would say that this was a film in a long trilogy of films, and it should never have been made. Because it was number 5 in the series, and nobody likes it.
What year again?
90.
5 films. Wow.
This is the 5th film. There's more movies after it.
Oh, well, no, that wasn't that long ago, I don't think. Fast and Furious?
No.
Yeah, I was
That's
going
not
to say
long.
it. No.
That's also a correct answer of too many movies
Yeah.
and it shouldn't have been made. But no, not this one.
Oh, it's not just Star Wars, is it?
No. No. All right,
I might need some help.
the layup, I'll tell you this, Tommy Gunn. Tommy Morrison is a part of this, and his nickname is the Tommy Gun.
I don't know.
Rocky 5.
Oh, okay, I started.
I
it,
sorry,
but-
I was waiting for you to finish out Rocky 5 this day, 1990. And the final one, my easy hint would be Kevin!
Home Alone,
Home Alone
starring
is
Joe
correct.
Burrow.
This day, 1990. Well done. The GOAT of the Christmas. We'll do holiday films in a bracket, but Home Alone stands above the rest. This day, 1990. All right, great stuff. Let's get to our bets with Tipico. Use that code BIGPLAY200 now when you get signed up. Get those bonus bets when you register with our friends at Tipico, and you can make bets with us all season long right here on Tipico. Download the app. Use that code BIGPLAY200. Reflog's got another code, and you can be bet with us all season long. Nice little cash there from the Wine and Gold last night on that -10. Let's see what we got tonight. Baltimore, Cincinnati, 3.5 point spread. Cincinnati on the road there at M&T Bank Stadium. This opened at 2.5. It is now to 3.5 on the side of the Baltimore Ravens. Let me get you some trends. Cincinnati, red hot, 4-1 straight up and 4-1 against the spread. Their last 5 games. They are also 15-5 in their last 20 games against the spread on the road. Now, specific against Baltimore, Cincinnati is 4-2 straight up in their last 6 games against Baltimore and 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games when they play in Baltimore. The problem is their last 9 games against Baltimore, they're only 3-6 against the spread. So what does that tell you? That they cover when they're in Cincinnati. Baltimore covers when they're in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's covering when they're up there at M&T Bank Stadium. You flip it over for Baltimore. They are 8-4 against the spread their last 12 games, but they are only, as I mentioned, 1-5 against the spread their last 6 games at home against Cincinnati. Where Baltimore shines a little bit, they are 4-2 against the spread their last 6 games on Thursday Night Football. Public money, 64% of it is on the side of the Cincinnati Bengals. I am going to roll with the Baltimore Ravens tonight. Do you want to know why, Ryan? Because we need them to win. This game for Browns fans on Thursday night is super important. And as much as I hate to say it, you need the Ratbirds to win. Where we're at with the Cleveland Browns, we need to push the division aside. I know we have a division game against Pittsburgh this weekend, and that'd be a huge win and everything. Focus on the wild card. Cincinnati only is going to make this as a wild card. There's no part of this that I believe they're going to get back into the race for the AFC North. You need Baltimore to bury them and get them back out of this wild card hunt. You got to let the AFC North go. Let Baltimore get that win. Let them ascend this, continue on their rise to the AFC North. You have got to have Baltimore get a win Thursday night. It has to be. So I will bet on Tipico with that code BIGPLAY200 now. I got to roll with the Ravens. I don't really have a choice, Ryan. I have to do it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, there was a video that was circulating on Twitter that got deleted. I believe the Bengals posted. You could see a quick glance of Burrow had, I believe, like a band on his wrist.
Okay.
Whether that's actually something to monitor, I'm not sure, but I thought it was interesting of note. But I'm going to roll with the Ravens as well, and maybe that's me having good faith that they'll bounce back and help us a greater chance to get that wild card and kind of stall the Bengals' pursuit of it. So I'll roll with you on that, Matt.
I mean, that's the thing. Both of these teams need a bounce back. Ravens coming off a loss to us, and of course the Bengals coming off that loss. Was it the Lions that beat them up? Was that their last game?
Texans.
Oh, Texans. That's right. Texans on the field goal. You're right. Cincinnati, all of a sudden, I mean, they need to win as much as anybody, but we got to hope for the Ravens to get that done tonight and kind of send the Bengals off to that ethos. But for the Bengals, too, they got a lot of injury questions, right? Like Jamar Chase is not 100%.
I believe T. Higgins is ruled out.
T. Higgins already out. What's the over-under on Tipico? I should have pulled that up. Oh, let me get you some boosts here on the way out, too. Over-under is 46.5. All right, Bengals money line, Burrow to pass for 250. It was plus 412. You think Cincinnati's going to win? You jump on that in 2 seconds. Damn it, I like that boost. 3 players to score a touchdown between Mixon, Gus Edwards, Andrews, and Jamar Chase is plus 310. Ravens money line, Lamar to get 300 yards passing and rushing combined. If you think this is going to be a shootout, you go grab that right now. Other same game parlays you can build. Popular ones, they're all there. Burrow and Lamar both. Okay, so real quick, fire through. Lamar over under 225.5 passing.
Under.
Joe Burrow 255.5.
Over.
Anytime touchdown score.
Joe Mixon.
I like Lamar plus 135 tonight to run one in. Get that in there on Tipico. We got to fly. That's it. Chico Show coming up at 12. Booby and Rafa later for Booby's World. Appreciate all the support.
Real quick, Matt. Bracket.
Oh, the bracket. We got to go. We got to fly.
All right, look. So Group 1, Grand Theft Auto. Group 2, Call of Duty. Group 3, Super Smash Bros. Came out with the win yesterday. And Group 4, Halo. We're down to our final 4. Go vote at Matt Fontana Show on Twitter.
Arkham lost. I'm sad about that. Go vote at Matt Fontana Show. Follow us there. Appreciate everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Football Friday edition of the Matt Fontana Show right here on Big Play. For Ryan Tyler, I am Matt Fontana, and as always, take it easy.